Welcome to Dr. M's Vodcast, a vodcast with a mission to connect continuous improvement professionals across the world.
Right. Namaste. And thank you very much for joining this first episode of the series that Jackie uh, has so voluntarily told us that she will be sharing the Deming series with us last Sunday of every month. Today, the first episode, and the details of it. And I've been given 10 seconds to introduce her, so I'll keep up the cycle time. Jackie, Jacqueline Graham, Jackie, we are uniquely blessed that we have her here, and 5 p.m. Melbourne, and she's on a Sunday, and she's with us. Thank you very much, Jackie, for that. And we know
Welcome.
her long association with Deming, and also she's been awarded the Duran Medal, plus her hands-on experience in infrastructure building, construction, transportation, manufacturing, health sector, and of all of it, the government sector. I don't know how to deal with the government sector. Anyway, that's a short introduction that I have for you, and I kept up my 10 seconds. Over to you, Jackie. Not taking
Okay,
the
all right.
airtime away from you.
All right, I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully this is all going to go smoothly. That work?
It does.
All right. Just right. So what you can see here is my favorite picture of me and Dr. Deming. It was a relaxed evening in his actually afternoon in his study at his home. We should always start with why are we here? And we are here obviously to learn, to have fun, but most importantly, to make a difference. That's what continues to inspire me and make me want to continue to work with as many people as I can. So just briefly, my journey, Dr. M has covered part of it, but my original degree is chemical engineering. I was very stunned to discover that they weren't ready for women in chemical engineering in the UK when I graduated. I got the definite clue when everybody else left the cryogenics plant that I'd entered. So I moved industries and I moved to the motor industry, into General Motors. And my role there was to look at why Japan was taking so much of the marketplace at that time. This is when the UK was suffering a loss of industries to Japan in almost completely. So motorbike industry went from huge to nothing in virtually no length of time at all. Cars were starting to be affected. So my job was to understand how the Japanese were producing better quality product and bring it to the plants that I was working with in Europe. Little did I know at the same time, Bill was in America doing something very similar, but he had the assistance of Dr. Deming. I work with more than 500 suppliers because we all know that you're only as good as the things you assemble. What we were doing was pretty unique, and I did a master's and doctorate, and that's what my doctorate is in the application of statistics into the automotive industry. I joined a Deming organization and got sent to a Deming seminar in London in the 1980s and the mid-80s, and I met Dr. Henry Neve. So I met Dr. Deming and Dr. Neve. For those of you who don't know, Dr. Henry Neve, he wrote 12 Days to Deming and worked extensively with Dr. Deming, particularly in the UK, but also in the US. That seminar changed everything for me. It changed the way I thought. It changed absolutely how I saw the world. Suddenly I had much more structure and thinking. My thinking was formulated. I started to understand issues more clearly. I could see things more easily. And that helped me understand how people could improve. And life has never been the same since, I'm pleased to say. So I assisted Dr. Deming with 4-day seminars, some public ones, some in-house ones, and some 2-day seminar and advanced application. And I did some consulting with him as an assistant. Not, he was the main guy. That's my Durham medal in the corner there. So I consulted in a variety of industries since Dr. Deming passed and while he was around. Transport, particularly rail and roads, spent a lot of time in both of those industries, all sorts of different kinds of manufacturing, service industries, finance, telecommunications. One I didn't put up there was funeral directors. So I've even worked in the funeral industry. Healthcare, hospitals, blood services, and even Australian rules football. So those of you who don't know, we have our own football code in Australia. And I was awarded the Durham Medal in 2021 by the Australian Organisation for Quality, which is the highest medal in Australia. So let's get on to the subject, constancy of purpose. Right, it's point 1 of Dr. Deming's 14 points. It's pretty important. It got it's the first cab off the rack, right? It's the number 1. You need to create a constancy of purpose, or as Deming said, create constancy of purpose towards improvement of product and service with the aim to become competitive, stay in business, and to provide jobs. Okay, that's directly out of the crisis. This is how I view it. Are you an organization where you're all pointing in the same direction and pulling in the same direction? Or are you more like this, where the leaders are desperately trying to pull them one direction? There's some people at the bottom who definitely aren't going in that direction. And there's some other people who are pulling in a different direction. So for me, constancy of purpose is about getting everybody aligned and staying in the same direction. It is not easy. I don't want you to think it is, because it definitely isn't. So how do you do it? How do you get everyone going in the same direction? You have to have an aim. You have to know where that arrow's going. Deming went to the point where he said, a system must have an aim. Without an aim, there is no system. So if you don't know the direction you're going in, how can you align that arrow? You can't. You won't know what direction to put it in. So let me give you an example. This was a really interesting thing for me. I'm part of a group called MS Angels Melbourne. So for those of you who don't know, MS is multiple sclerosis. And what it does is it doesn't kill you, but it will completely destroy you. So my first-hand part of that was my cousin's wife, who spent the last 5 years of her life with MS, only having voluntary eye and eyelid movement. Nothing else, right? So what your diagnosis is going to be when you get diagnosed, nobody can tell you whether it's going to be minor or major. The aim of this charity group.
Weekend.
Oh, hang on, Ian.
We're on
Ian,
Sunday
can you mute, please?
Beginning of the week tomorrow.
Okay, I'm getting some background noise. I'm sure somebody can fix that. We formed a charity to fund incubator research. This is research that can't get funding because it's not yet proven, but has some interesting concepts that need further investment. So previously we were very cure focused. We focused on what can cure this thing. Our mantle was very much, let's kiss goodbye to MS. Let's get rid of it. During COVID, we had to spend a lot of our sessions online, and we decided to work on our purpose. Our outcome was a bit of a surprise. When we all started sitting down and working it out, we discovered that actually we are a diverse group of female leaders showing our commitment to MS research while supporting each other professionally and personally. And our vision wasn't to cure MS, but was to enable people with MS to live their full potential. It was really interesting listening to our customers, which is people with MS, saying, I don't mind having MS as long as it doesn't destroy my life, as long as I'm not in pain. So our focus, our aim, our arrow has now switched. And what was really interesting was that our relationships together as our group was just as important to us as our research. So it was a combination. So we've gone from cure to enablers for people to live with MS and get the best out of their lives. So each year we select a project, and now we review those projects in a totally different way. So for those with MS that are not necessarily cure-based, but will help people get a better quality of life. So our arrow shifted in direction. So they've changed. So we were very laboratory focused, trying to understand how the brain got damaged, how to protect the brain. And now we look at all sorts of different things. And our current project is about how MS and menopause interface each other. So it's really interesting. It's taken us in quite a different direction. So may our purpose and vision change in the future? I think it will. I actually think it will, because I hope one day we'll be able to. But it will only be with the full group agreeing. So all the people in this group, and we are a bunch of women, are very focused on what we're on. But if a cure for MS occurred, we would have to get a new cause. Now, we've already decided that we're going to do that, because the group of women is just as important as the outcome of what we're doing. So unless we'd really spent time thinking about our purpose and vision, we just got busy sponsoring projects, making a difference. And it was really interesting to sit back and say, well, what are we about? What are we doing? Because you just get busy in that everyday stuff. So we all realize we get a lot from the group, our personal growth, our personal relationships. It's not just about the research. It's a complete change. So we've evolved our purpose and vision to reflect that. What you need to answer to have a good constancy of purpose is you need to answer what business you are in. You need to talk about what you want to achieve. What is your business trying to achieve? What do you want as the outcome? My favorite of this is Dr. Deming used to talk about a buggy whip company in his seminars. And for those of you who don't know what a buggy is, there's a picture of one. It's how people got around when Deming was a boy, because motor cars weren't common and weren't even invented when he was first born. So you would have a buggy, and obviously what made the buggy go was the buggy whip. And the buggy whip company produced the best buggy whip, and it honed and it refined it. Is it still in business? What business are they in? Anybody want to talk about what business they might be in? What business do you think they're in? Anybody? I don't know whether we're getting anything in the chat. Automotive? Yeah, they're in transport. They're in transport. But what does the buggy whip do?
So they want the horse to move in the right direction and in speed?
Yes, it's speed, right? They want the buggy whip. If you flick it, it'll make the horse go faster. So they are actually in the business of acceleration. So if they saw themselves in the business of acceleration and making transport move faster and helping people getting from A to B, could they still be in business today? Of course they could. It's about understanding the future-proof version of your organization, not just what you're about today. Because you can get so focused on your current product, your current service, you lose connection with the customer who's moving on. There's lots of examples of companies who've done that. So producing the best buggy whip It's not future-proofed. So let's talk about one that is. Toyota. God, we always talking about Toyota, aren't we? So Toyota will leave the future mobility society. Isn't that interesting? Enriching lives around the world with the safest and most responsible way of moving people. Mobility society. You may not know, but Toyota makes boats as well as cars. Who knows what they might make in the future, because that doesn't say we will lead car making, does it? It says we'll be the future of mobility society. So it's future-proofed. There's further guidance there. And yeah, just a statement on its own is not enough. You need more than that. So they talk about, through our commitment to quality, ceaseless innovation, respect for the planet, strive to
Hello. Can I say something?
when I finish the statement, we strive to exceed expectations and be rewarded with a smile. We meet challenging goals by engaging the talent and passion of people who believe there is always a better way. So that's their ethos. So Rahul, I take it you had a question?
Yeah, you mentioned somewhere in the slide that Toyota will lead the future mobility.
That's
How
their
possible? How can is there any proof Toyota will lead the mobility society and enriching our lives? Why only Toyota? Why not other competing factors? Is there any SWOT analysis you have conducted?
Oh, I think we're getting into a specific question, Rahul. So I think you should watch the whole presentation, maybe, and then we'll come back to any questions. So if you want to type your question in the chat, we are compiling them for discussion later on. Okay, would that work?
All right,
Yeah.
we will see. Thank
Okay.
you.
So a statement on its own is not going to get all those arrows aligned. You need more guidance. So in our MS Angels group, we collected more guidance as well that will be welcoming, we'll interact respectfully and have fun together. We'll be connected, we are strengthened by our diversity and inclusiveness. And we meet to learn about MS research, but also about each other and careers outside of our group that have influenced us. And supportive. We're going to encourage MS researchers. And so another slant we've taken is the researchers that we get involved with are young researchers, young female researchers, where we believe spending time with us would actually benefit them. So we're trying to feed in multiple ways here, in that we're building stronger researchers who are more confident by spending time with us in our group. So what about you individually? Do you have a name? Have you thought about it? It's hard, right? We tend to bumble along through life and we can get attracted by the shiny things and completely lose track of what our aim is. But do you have a name? Who are you? When people say, who are you? What do you answer? Probably depends on what circumstances you're in. Who do you want to be? What really matters to you? That's the crux of it, right? I find that if you do this as an individual and you start thinking about this, it actually helps you work out how to do it organizationally, because you go through the same kind of process. So what matters to you and why does it matter to you? What do you feel passionate about? I can't believe how many people I find who are just doing a job to earn money. They don't have any passion for it at all. Quite often they have something outside of work that they're passionate about, but somehow they've lost the passion for what they're doing. Your own aim can evolve and change, but you need to do it consciously, not bumble your way through and just happen to come on something, right? Hopefully you'll happen to come something on good, but you could happen to come on something that's bad as well, right? So do you consciously look when you're changing things about who you are and what matters and what you're aiming to achieve? What are your values? What do you use to guide you? It's actually good to write those things down because it helps you think about what is really truly important to you. Do you use them as a guide? Do you consider them in your decision making? Right? Think about it, because that's what we're asking organizations to do, right? We're asking them to think. So how do you do it for an organization? The answer is it's not done by grabbing the leaders and putting them in a room and saying, come up with the aim. If you want an aim that is meaningless, that is the way to do it. Right? It takes time. I might actually just get Bill. Bill, you spent time on this when you were in the automotive industry in the US, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
And how long did it take?
Just on Ford's mission, values, guiding principles, it took about a year and a half of a lot of introspection and talking and guidance in order to get the top C-suite and some of the other executive vice presidents to agree on what would be our constancy of purpose statement,
Yeah.
which was, as I said, mission, values, and guiding principles. I've since added questions based predictably on physical, logical, and emotional. There are got to be some key questions.
Yeah. So whether you call them vision, mission, aim, whatever you call it, I am not rusted on that you have to call it one name. What I am rusted on about is, does it give constancy of purpose for your organization? And do people in your organization understand what it means and what that means to them? Right? So it takes time. You need to understand the organization from all sorts of different perspectives to work this out. So if it's going to be meaningful, you have got to spend some time really understanding who and what your organization is. There's a lot of assumptions made, and then when you actually look a bit deeper, you discover you were wrong, just like our MS Angels group, right? We were a cure-based research group sponsoring research. And then, hang on a minute, no, the relationship between us is equally important to what we're doing. So it completely changed the way we were thought about our organization. I have to say, without COVID, it would have taken us, may have taken us a lot longer to get there, right? So there was some benefits, not many, but some. So you have to ask questions. You have to ask questions from your employees. You have to ask questions from your customers. You have to ask questions about your suppliers. You have to ask questions even of your competitors. You need to see the whole thing. And it's really interesting when you start talking to customers. So working out who your customers are. I noticed there's been some questions about financial, quarterly profits, all those kind of things, right? As an organization, if you are part of the share market, one of your customers is your shareholders. And it's got to be taken into account. I don't like short-termism any more than anybody else does. But if you have decided as an organization, we're going to go on the share market in order to raise money, you can't get a debt with that, which is you now have shareholders as customers. So you have to think about everybody who benefits from what you do. So that's much more widespread than just the people who buy your product or service. So what do they need from you? And be careful. It's really easy to get into expectations opposed to needs. So if you go and talk to people, so let's treat rail as an example, because we all know trains, right? And you talk to people, what are you looking for in your train trip? They will start talking about on time, clean carriage, comfortable to sit in, enough leg room, They won't talk about, I need you to take me from point A to point B, which is fundamentally what they need to do. So you have to be willing to understand that a lot of your questions might come out as expectations. And you have to really think about, well, what is inherently behind that to help you understand what your purpose is. Because rail is in the transport industry, and there's lots of things on the outside that, like on-time running, clean, comfortable, etc., safe. Big one, safe. But people will talk about those expectations as opposed to what their fundamental needs are. Talk to your employees. What attracts them to come to work for you? Why do they work for you? Why don't they go to Fred Bloggs down the road? I mean, they might just answer you because you pay better. I'm here purely for the money. Or I'm here because I believe we're doing something. What do your employees think about the place? You need to know that. So you need to talk about what is important to you, what is important to your organization, what is important to the employees. What does everybody see as the purpose? It's actually a really interesting question because quite often you get answers that are not aligned. And so then you can see that arrow with everything going in different directions much more clearly. And you realize the misalignment. But if you don't ask, you won't be able to align them because you don't know that they're misaligned. Start thinking into the future. Where do you want to be? 5, 10, 15, 20, buggy whip. Don't get into the buggy whip hole. Think about what your role is in society, your role is with your customers. Longer term, where do you want to be? What do you want to achieve? I still have this customer actually. They wanted to double in size every 3 years. All right? Already quite big. Aim is to double in size every 3 years. So of course, being a mathematician, I immediately got to work out at what point they would be in total world domination. And so I quoted this figure, which I can't remember what it was now. And they kind of looked at me blank. And I'm like, have you really thought about this? If you double in size in that time frame, that's an incredible amount of growth. How are you going to steer a ship? You will just be working out how to steer the ship with the first doubling when you double again and you double again, bringing on businesses from other places. And this is what the leaders of the group had come as their aim. We want to double in size. It was an interesting aim, not one that was fulfilled. They discovered after a couple of cycles of doubling that, it's not really working. Let's just take that out. What guides you in your work? How are you going to guide others in work? As leaders, you need to go take your organization on a journey. What I hate is when people say, oh yeah, they came up with a name. There it is on the wall. It was a bit of a surprise, really. It's not what we expected at all. Like, okay. They've missed the point, right? When you have got a good aim, you need to use it. And you need to consider, where are we now? Where are we trying to go? How big is that gap? And how are we going to fill it? And Dr. Deming would say, by what method? I could hear it coming out of him now. By what method? What are you going to do? How are you going to get there? So it's great to have an aim that we want to be standing on Jupiter in 5 years' time. But you can't stand on Jupiter because it's a gas planet. But consider, by what method? Otherwise, that pie in the sky. It's not real. And it won't be real to people in your organization. Do think about how you will know you are succeeding. We don't celebrate success the way that we don't celebrate failures. Failures get highlighted and talked about, successes don't to the same extent. Think about what some of the milestones are. Do you use the word milestones, or is this an English Australianism? So milestones are literally stones on the side of the road in the UK every mile that tells you how many miles to the next town and to the town you've been to. So how do you know how far along the road you've got to your aim? So think about the milestones. You have to review with everybody about the aim and the values you have and how it reflects to them and what is expected of them. You need to go from the top to the bottom of your organization, helping people align and explaining to them what it means to align, what it means to them, what difference does it make in their day-to-day job. My biggest concern about visions, missions, whatever you want to call them, is that they get put on the wall and everybody forgets them. They're not living, breathing parts of your organizations. They're just, oh, yeah, you want to know who we are? Oh, there it is. Kind of like ticking a box. We did that. That's not what it should be. It should be brought up constantly, who you are, what you're about. Is it easy? No, it's incredibly difficult. It's hard. It's hard work. Leaders need to be constantly focused on it. But you have to be aligned. So I'll give you an example where one of the companies I work with is a concrete company. And a driver came back to the depot saying, I didn't deliver the load. I felt it was unsafe. They awarded him. He was given an award for not delivering. Now, another concrete company decided to go on that site and try and make the delivery. The truck overturned and the driver was seriously injured. That driver was 100% right not to deliver that material. You need to celebrate those people who are demonstrating they understand what your purpose is, what your values are. And by celebrating those moments, you're sending a message to everybody else about aligning to who you are as an organization. So you need to think about, how can we put it in front of people as many times as we can? How can we talk about it as often as we can? So you have to have investment, and it has to be a commitment by everybody. This means you've got to hire well. It's a huge one, right? I was involved with a company where they hired a new sales manager. He could sell. There was no doubt about it. He was amazing. But often he sold things that were a little outside the scope of the company he was working for. And what they found was they were getting drawn into businesses outside of their normal scope. They were also getting orders in huge bulks that they would struggle to achieve. He created chaos at the front end of the system and created chaos for the company, which eventually actually destroyed them. And that was completed because you brought in somebody who was great, but not for your company. It was a total mismatch. So you have to hire really, really well. You have to support people who are correctly focused. You have to coach people who are not. As I said before, you demonstrate whenever you can do it. So challenges. The focus on short-term profits, definitely a challenge, but take it into account. Make it part of the system. It is part of your system. This is a decision you made to be part of the stock market. It needs to be part of your values. It needs to be part of your guiding principles. How you are going to manage short-term profits while you manage long-term aspirations. The other thing I find is people get too generic or just totally unrealistic with their aims, and then it's meaningless. So that's something you need to be very careful of. Questions? So, shall I
Jackie?
stop sharing so we can see each other?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Jackie.
Not
Yeah,
everybody's on camera, which is disappointing.
yeah, it is. And because whatever chat you have, just feed it on to Jackie, please.
Yeah, sure. Even before doing that, I would request like if anyone want to unmute his or herself so that they can ask the question.
Okay. So we had
Yes, Shane.
we
You are
can't
not
hear you,
audible.
Jen.
Yeah.
Can't hear you.
This is my reflection. I put some in the chart as well. Jackie, I noticed that Jackie.
You're very
raised her hand.
faint, Shane. I'm struggling to hear. I don't know whether it's because I'm a long way away or whether it's because you're quiet.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
You're quiet. Is everybody else having the same experience? Or is it, if it's just me, somebody else can interpret for me?
Yeah, the voice is feeble, Jackie.
Hear me now, right now? Can you hear me?
Sitang, we'll come back to you. You need
Yeah.
to increase your
Maybe you
volume
put
and
your
audio.
question in the chat.
Yeah, put your
Yeah,
question in the chat,
sure.
Sitang.
Yeah, because it is very quiet.
And anyone else has any question before I move to the chat section?
Hi, Vikas, Pratik this side.
Yeah. Yes, Pratik.
Am I audible clearly?
Yes.
Yes, you're great.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so my first question is how the constancy of a purpose differ for the large, medium, and small scale industries or the companies? And the second one is
I'll take them one at a time. I'll take them one at a time. Right.
Okay, okay.
Right. The answer is fundamentally they don't. Just the level of complexity and the number of arrows is higher. So if you think back to the diagram I showed at the beginning with the arrows inside the arrows, you have a lot more to align in a large organization, so it's a lot harder. But fundamentally, working out who you are, what you believe, what your values are, it's harder in a bigger company because there's more views, but fundamentally the process is the same.
Okay.
Right. And sometimes it can be harder sometimes it can be quite hard for small companies because they haven't even considered it or thought about it. They're just busy getting on with business and don't think about it too much. Now, did you have a follow-up question?
Yeah, so the second question, just attaching to that, is the product or service may be of a short purpose or they may have a short life. For example, a sellotape or a stapler pin, which may not have a greater improvement as a product or a service. So in such kind of businesses, will there be any constancy of a purpose or, I mean, how it happens?
Well, what do you get from constancy of purpose, right? So you get everybody in the organization pulling in the same direction, trying to achieve the same things. Does that give value? Yes. If you are in a bad position or a good position, it makes no odds. Getting everybody pulling in the same direction and working towards the same goals will give value. So whether you're in some ways, it's easier to bring people on board when you're in a bad situation because they're looking for some light in the tunnel. We use that metaphor that they feel they're in a dark place. They want something to look forward to and something that will help them. And so they're keener to take it up. If you're in a comfortable position and you're being asked to realign, that can be more difficult because the person feels in a comfortable position. So that requires you as leaders, those leaders need to talk the talk, walk the talk, mentor the talk, coach the talk, the whole kit and caboodle. It has to be an obsession by the leaders to make constancy of purpose work.
Okay, Thanks, Jackie. And the last question I have is there any time frame where the businesses should look the purpose, constancy of a purpose? I mean, some business may start based on the need. I mean, they see the market, there is a market need, and they start the business. But after some time, they may identify the purpose of themselves. I mean, they started with the business that there is a need in the market or there is a gap in the market, and they started doing the business. And after that, what uh, they are thinking of what is their purpose.
Right. So quite often what happens is people get very focused on, there's a pie. So let's call it a pie. That's the gap. And so we're the first to recognize it. So we grab the pie. And then somebody comes along and is starting to eat in our pie. So now we're sharing the pie. And now we start fighting over the pie instead of working out, how do we make the pie bigger? How do we expand beyond the restriction of the gap that we found for our business? I think the biggest issue we have is leaders don't spend enough time thinking, stepping back, thinking about themselves, their business, thinking about the businesses they lead, and talking to people who will help them understand their business better. And I think that is one of the fundamental issues we have right now, is getting people thinking better. Does that help?
Yeah, Jackie, that really helps. Thank you.
Thanks, Pratik. So I'll take a question from chat. We have a question from Surya Prakash. So he basically categorized it into two parts. One is business and another one is personal. So I'll first go with the business part. So there he asked three questions. So what's our core purpose beyond this quarter's number? And how does every project tie back to it? And where are we compromising long-term quality for short-term targets? And how will we stop? And if market pressure forced us to cut one initiative, which would we protect to stay true to our purpose?
Okay, so short-term profits are, they interfere with our long-term aims. There's no doubt about it, right? People get very focused on short-term profits, particularly when you're struggling to meet them. So you have to think as an organization, that is the environment you're in. You have to work out, that is your job as a leader, is to work out, how do we keep our eye on the long term while making sure we're sufficient in the short term to answer the needs of the stock market? I think somehow, so a great example is we have a new takeout place, where fast food takeout, similar to McDonald's, but in this case, it's Mexican and it's Australian based, and they went onto the stock market and their shares went through the roof. And then everybody's sitting back going, they've only got so many stores. How can they be worth this much money? And suddenly you've got this pull that is saying this company should be really, really profitable. Look at this price of the shares. That's not actually there behind. Right? So this is the danger when you go onto the stock market. And this is part of what the leaders have to manage. You have got a new customer called the share market, called shareholders. You have to make sure that what you communicate to the stock market is realistic. So if you've got a long-term aim and for 2 years we're going to struggle and then we will start to make money, create that expectation in your shareholders. This is what we're planning. Keep them well up to date. We try to say, we were profitable this quarter, we'll be profitable next, and the quarter, and the quarter, and the quarter, to take the pressure off us. Right? But the environment is, you are working in a quarterly financial situation. And so you have to manage that. That is part of the system. That is part of the customer base you are working in. And yeah, short-term profits, I don't like it any more than anybody else does. It does send you off from your long-term goals if you let it. but it has to be part of it. You can't just ignore it. Was there another part of that I didn't answer? I am so sorry.
The last one is if market pressures forced us to cut one initiative, which would we protect to stay true on our purpose?
Well, you have to work that out as an organization, don't you? So you have to work out what you want to achieve and who you are. I would hope that your values would help you work that out. If you've worked out your values, it will help you distinguish and work that out. But if you're responding to short-term profit requirements and losing the organization in the long term, you're going to do yourselves a lot of damage. So one thing that I've seen so many times is people have cut down on research and development to save money in order to improve profits in the short term. It destroys you in the long term. So you have to look at what you're doing, what impact it's having on your constancy of purpose, on your aims, what you're trying to achieve, and really look at what that price tag is in its true light, not just a saving on a P&L, profit and loss statement. Sorry.
Mhm. Yes. I'll cover the personal part of the same for the same. What long-term aim guides my daily choices, and what habit would reinforce it? Which short-term wins am I chasing that distract from my real goal? How will I put guardrail in place? And when things get hard, how do I remind myself why I started so I keep going?
That's great questions. And I think actually writing them down makes a big difference. And reminding yourself what you're trying to achieve. Right? You do get taken to one side by shiny things. Everybody does, right? But yeah, if you've sat down and really worked out what you want to be and what your purpose is, and how you're going to get there and what that gap is, and how you're going to work towards that gap, that will help you enormously. Thinking about it on and off, but not writing it down won't be as effective. You need to plaster it somewhere so that you see it on a regular basis about who you are and what you want to be, what your values are. I know there's some people who say, imagine you're on your deathbed, what do you want people to say about you? Which I just think's macabre, right? It's just not very nice to think about. But it is a way of doing it. What do you want to achieve with your life? So, I've seen people who have, so a friend of my son's desperately wants to be a doctor, a physician, and he is going round the houses to get there. But you can see he will get there because of the tenacity of the individual, and that he is getting closer and closer with every step he's taking. I don't think he'll be so he is a doctor in medical research right now, and he wants to be a physician. He wants to be a GP, a general practice physician, and he will get there. It's actually a step down from where he's got, but he's just taking an interesting road to get there. Somebody else, a friend of mine, he's an accountant. He was an accountant. He started to get into some business deals were away from his core knowledge. And one of those deals went bad and he went bust. And when you're bust, you can no longer be an accountant. And so he lost everything. He lost absolutely everything because he went after the shiny thing. And without thinking about, does this actually align with who I am? What risks am I taking by doing this? Mm-hmm. Taking time out to think. I think if Dr. Deming taught me anything, it was to think. Just take the time out to think, consider what you're doing. It's just really important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thanks, Jackie. So I can see Gilbert has raised the hand. So do you have a question, Gilbert?
Thank you, madam. Ooh. Yes, I do have a question for Jackie.
Yeah.
Jackie, it's an interesting point you raise in terms of the organization when you're setting up your constants of purpose, that it takes time. and the comparison you brought in of any individual. On the individual part, that's the part where I've got a question of saying, at an individual level, you start looking at yourself to say, where am I in terms of my life? And the renewal, you keep on reflecting to see, the time you start looking at yourself in your different phases in life. How long does it take for an individual? Is there any indication? I know Bill talked of 1.5 years it took for the organization. He gave us an example in the presentation. But at individual level, what timelines do you normally look at? Is there any indicators or any direction?
I think it's something you've got to mull over and think about. So if you haven't thought about it before, it will take you potentially a few months. I don't think it's going to take you years, but it's something you should talk about with family members, with close friends. So I have a friend currently who has got her dream job to discover that it's not her dream job. And so she suddenly found that so some people call the place that you're trying to go to due north. She feels like she's got to the North Pole and is now just freezing. It's not working out well for her at all. And so it's brought her to realize, I didn't get this quite right. Now, how do I pivot? So there's nothing saying that pivoting is wrong, but doing it consciously is the big thing, right? I pivoted hugely. I was based in Europe and I pivoted to Australia, the other side of the world, at a time when it wasn't easy to get between the two places, I can tell you. But we did it by thinking about what we wanted to achieve, what our aims were, and whether we thought we could achieve them better in Australia than we could in the UK. And so our location changed, and it impacted on some of our values, with family being a very important part of our values. And we had to work out how we could manage that, how we were going to work with that. But it makes you ask questions. And anytime you're asking questions of yourself, you are thinking deeper, and that will help. Did that help?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks, Jackie.
Thank you.
So yeah, keep raising the hand if you have any question or want to speak. Meanwhile, I'll go to the chat section. There is one question from Nipa Mehta. A growing organization may need to review their VMV frequently based on the changes that affect them. For example, the VUCA word or AI and an educational institute. So any comments on that?
Okay, sorry. Give it to me again. I'm sorry. I didn't really pick up the question.
Nipa, if you would like to take it, you can take it.
Yeah. Okay, sorry.
So, Jackie, we are a young higher educational institution.
Right.
Being industry focused, we have courses in management and technology.
Right.
So we do have our VMV, and we try mapping it with all actions that we do or we plan, including the courses. But just as of late, we have been, we realize that AI is, overpowering in a lot of the spheres, including its reflection on our courses and its use by the students, as well as a lot of changes that are affecting in all the management segments, especially because of the changes that are happening in the world. So we are setting ourselves on an exercise on reviewing our VMV.
Yeah.
So that we can, and, setting up definitions which will help us align at least for the next few years, let's say 5-10 years. So is that a good exercise to be done?
Yes, absolutely.
What you've said, I think I realize it is good, because some of them are questioning, how can we, we have set our vision, mission, values, why should we? Whereas a few of us are very clear we should.
Yeah, absolutely. And it might be that you set them up and then you go, AI is really disrupting our model. We need to revisit that, right? Because we all know that AI is coming at us at 100 miles an hour. I think it's interesting because it is a tool. It is not everything, right? And it's been portrayed as being everything. Okay, so my girlfriend who's a nurse has no need to worry at this point in time, right?
Right.
I think she's still going to be safe, right? At least in the short term. But yeah, you need to set out where you're at so that you're all aligned, so that, because I think it is going to be hard. AI is going to interfere with your business model, right? And if you're not aligned,
Yeah.
then you're going to be even more vulnerable, right? So being aligned and understanding who you are and what you are and what you want to be part of, it's really important so that you'd work on it together. And at some point, you'll have to work out how much AI helps versus AI actually doesn't help, and helping customers understand that. So you will have to get to grips with that as well. And if you're aligned about what you're trying to do and achieve, it will really help you do that.
Right.
Okay.
Sure. Thank you. Yeah, that's reassuring.
Okay.
I'll take back that to my institution.
So I think what you bring up though is a good, because I'm going to suggest. Oh, sorry. Have we got more questions?
I have one.
Oh, Dr. M.
Yeah, it's more of a clarification than a question. Is this? I find a subtle difference between vision, mission, AI as a tool, because if you have consistency of purpose, your vision, mission has to be aligned to the consistency of purpose. If you use technology like AI, etc., to meet that purpose, so I don't think we need to be confused. Your business model has to be aligned with your purpose. So there has to be a clear understanding of what is the purpose, the aim, and the vision and mission, etc. Are getting into the details, and AI as a tool. And that's the
Yes.
way I see it. Over to you, Jackie.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. So what I am seeing is some businesses, in order to use the shiny AI, are diverting away from what their business is. Help, stop, right? This is where this constancy of purpose is so important, because we want to use the new shiny thing. Oh, but it doesn't really fit our business. Oh, we'll make it fit. This, if AI is not a tool that's assisting you to do what you want to do, then it's a problem, right? So you have to work out. So so I get involved with road maintenance, and there's a new system where you can clap it onto the top of the car and you drive the roads, and the AI goes around and goes, oh, that sign's damaged, or that line marking is faded, or there's a hole in the road there, blah 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 blah, and maps it all out. But then you've got to have a system that converts that to send to the line markers to go and fix the line, to the sign makers to fix the sign. It's got to be one whole integrated system. You can't just adapt a little bit of it. Otherwise, you've got a monster that's trying to manage the business, and everybody's focus goes on the monster, and you forget what you're doing. It's distractions. We should talk about what we should do next, what we're going to do on that. So the next one will be the 26th of April, I think.
Yeah.
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 I won't be in Melbourne. I'll be in Adelaide.
Yeah.
So let's just hope all the technology works in Adelaide. I'm sure it'll be fine. And I think the natural progression from the aim, and I think there was some hint at that already, is, what does your organization look like as a system? So I think Nipa was talking about that.
Yeah.
And I think it's the natural next part is, so how do you do it? How do you draw your organization as a system? Let's have a talk about that. Let's have a talk about our experiences. Let's work out how you do it. Does that, now, if people have got something else you'd prefer me to talk about, happy to be pivoted.
Yeah, Gilly?
Yes.
Jackie, I think you are already driving us to the future. But before we go to the future, we need to also recognize your effort for giving us this opportunity, or for bringing your wisdom and also your learnings from Dr. Deming, especially in your engagements, especially when it comes to the topic which we discussed today in terms of the concept of purpose. I would like to say that there were clear sound bites which came out of the session in terms of keeping on, asking yourself so many questions all the time, especially from the example of the MS Angels, when you were talking much about the ladies coming together, the continuous asking of yourself a question of why are we here? What's the purpose? Yes, Dr. Deming talks much about us, learning and keeping on having fun. This is the fun of what we are having as a result of your sharing of your insights and your experience. We understand you have been in other sectors in terms of dealing with the different industries across Australia, across the globe, even in your consulting field. We appreciate that in the sense of saying that thank you, keep on sharing that with us. And as the organizing committee, Dr. M, and the rest of the team, we are saying to you, thank you for the effort, as well as everyone who is on the line would like to thank you for your time of also coming and having your input and your questions which you are raising. We keep on encouraging you to keep on raising the questions. Continuous learning can only be achieved by us keeping on challenging ourselves and making sure that we keep on tapping from those who have first gone through the journey. So thank you.
You're welcome. I'm very, very happy. I have a legacy. I think Bill Schirkenbach shares that legacy, and we have a debt to a man called Dr. Deming, which we need to fulfill.
Yeah. And thank you, Gilly. Yeah. I thought I'll steal 15 minutes more from it, but then you stuck on to your job and we completed the hour. So I'm going to stop recording. Thank you very much, Jackie. And thanks for all of you all who have joined. Thanks, Bill. Thank you, all of you all. I'm going to stop recording and here we go.